Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Sometimes you get two fighters who are past their best, not shot, but past their best. They come together and they create a very entertaining, sometimes brilliant, evenly matched, grueling fight because they both, depleted at the same rate. The most obvious example I can think of historically is Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier 3, where both had seen much better days. They fought each other and they produced one of the greatest heavyweight fights ever. Well, the fight between Jeison Rosario and Jarrett Hurd certainly isn't one of the greatest fights you'll ever see, but it was, again, a grueling, tough, very, very close and somewhat difficult to score fight. It ended in a split draw, 96 to 94 to Hurd, 96-94 to Rosario, and then 95-95. I had it 96-94 to Hurd. That's watching it live, not knowing the result. I didn't watch it live, actually, excuse me. I watched it afterwards and I didn't know the result. So, that was my result, 96-94. If you're telling me you thought Jeison Rosario won, no problem. But, these guys, again, they have seen much better days. Too many miles on the clock. You've got Hurd, 25 wins with 17 KOs, 3 defeats, 1 by stoppage. And the 1 by stoppage was in March of last year, and he got the crap beaten out of him. My God. I mean, Hurd has been one of these come-forward guys who fights with his face, uses his weight. He's a huge 154-pound fighter, unified champ. They would probably call him a weight bully. And then when he lost his titles to Julian Williams, that was a unanimous decision over 12 rounds. He then moved up to middleweight and came into this fight with Rosario with 2 wins and 2 defeats. His last fight was a win against a modest opponent, but he lost a split decision to Luis Arias. He's not had success at middleweight. And he, like I say, he's 33 now. He still looks very big for middleweight. It's massive for 154. But we are talking about a guy who was a former IBF champ. And did he hold any of the other belts? I don't think he held any of the other belts, if memory serves. I know he was IBF champ. He might have held like the IBO or something like that, but I don't think he held any of the other of the big 4. Now, Jeison Rosario came in with 24 wins, 4 defeats, all by stoppage. All his defeats by stoppage, and he had 1 draw. Jeison Banana Rosario, that's his nickname. Banana, curious nickname. 29 years old, so you would think he's probably in his prime. In fact, he's past his best. His moment of triumph was defeating Erickson Lubin in 6 rounds to big. No, what did he win? Who did he beat? Rosario. I know he lost to Charlo in 8 rounds. He lost to Lubin in 6 rounds. And that's right, J-Rock, wasn't it? Okay, let me get this straight now. I'm doing this off memory. Julian Williams, that's right. He beat Julian Williams in 5 rounds to become IBF champ. And then he lost to Charlo, I think, in his next fight. That was a 5th round stoppage. And then he had a fight against Erickson Lubin, which was considered at the time to be a bit of a crossroads fight. This is going back to 2021, and he lost in 6 rounds, okay? And since then, he had a few wins. He did get stopped in 5 by Brian Mendoza, and he was considered, even though he's only 29, to be pretty much past it. But a good fighter. In his time, he was a very good, aggressive, hard-punching fighter. As was Hurd. The difference is that Hurd was one of those guys who would overwhelm you with his physical strength and his constant pressure, and he would fire punches in bunches. I mean, just avalanches of punches. But he looked old when he got stopped by Jose Resendez. And since then, that was in March of last year. He's had 1 little run around, got a 4th round retirement in an 8-rounder against a lesser opponent. So this was definitely a crossroads fight between 2 guys who really had seen much, much better days. But it did produce a good, close, tough, entertaining fight. Now, split draw, again, probably fair. I had it 96, 94, but I'm not going to argue with the draw. And you would have thought this would have been an explosion because both guys have never given the impression in the past they can box on the back foot. Rosario, you push him back, he gets stopped. All 4 of his defeats by stoppage. Hurd, more durable, better chin, but definitely not someone who can box on the back foot until now. Because, to my surprise, watching this, Hurd did not come out walking forward, face first, walk in the front door, fire that avalanche of punches. No. It was really strange to see. He clearly been working on skills in the gym. He used his jab very well. He was very conservative with the right hand. Both these guys are orthodox. Banging in the jab, trying to concentrate on landing single jabs. And Rosario was still moving forward, but not being reckless, And he was soaking up the jabs early on. And it was only in probably about the 3rd round that Hurd started to bring the right hand over. And it was finding a home. Rosario was blocking some of them, but don't get it wrong here. Rosario himself was firing some pretty decent punches that were having some effect on Hurd. In fact, between rounds, I think it was between the 2nd and 3rd, maybe the 3rd and 4th, they were using the end swell on Hurd's eye. And in fact, at the end of the fight, both these guys had swellings around the eyes. Nothing major. The eyes weren't shut, but you could see there was some damage there. It was that type of grueling fight. Now, I did get the feeling as I was watching this, I wonder if Hurd's going to turn up the heat and then in the second half of the fight, because this was a 10-rounder, really put it on Rosario. And we're going to see the old Jarrett Hurd who comes out, firing hell for leather, hell for leather. But that didn't really happen. And Rosario, in fact, had a couple of rounds where he was teeing off on Hurd. And Hurd was, again, great chin on Hurd. Both guys' legs didn't look too bad. Rosario looked a bit leaden at times. And neither of these guys have been particularly fast. Of the two, well, actually, it's difficult to say who's deteriorated the most. But they see it was a very good even matchup. Neither of these guys is going to really do anything at 160, against the champions. But match them together, and you had an entertaining fight where the pendulum would swing one way, swing the other. That was within a round. It's very, very difficult, some of these rounds, to score because they were competitive. But Hurd would be banging in the jab and pinging the right over. They were thudding hard punches, and then Rosario would come back. And Rosario was using his intelligence. He wasn't moving backwards, but he was sidestepping and giving Hurd some angles, trying to offset him and make him reset, which is an intelligent thing to do. So both these guys, even though they had reputations as, come forward, almost reckless fighters, they were both thinking in there. And it makes you wonder if both had used a bit more of a ring IQ earlier on in their careers. Could they have, suffered less losses, won more titles or whatever? I think that ship has sailed. Now, towards the end of the fight, Rosario was coming on quite strong. Hurd was still having some success, but wasn't firing enough punches. There was one round when he kind of started to try to unload, but Rosario almost put him back in his box because he matched him. And in the final round, Rosario, I don't know whether Hurd was feeling the pace or something, but Rosario, won that round. That was one of the clearer rounds. I thought Hurd was still landing big, heavy punches. So I suppose it's what you like, individual punches. But Rosario was the one, boxing better and probably firing more punches. I don't know what the stats were. And he nicked that last round. When he didn't nick it, he probably won it relatively convincingly. And that got him the draw. And I think it was Paulie Malignaggi on the Pro Box TV commentary said that Hurd will wake up tomorrow and wish he hadn't ended the fight by putting a rubber stamp on it. In the 10th round, he just wasn't busy enough. And if he wakes up tomorrow and he's still got some energy, he'll think, why didn't I kind of turn the screw a bit? Because I could have edged this fight. He could have done. There again, maybe you could make a case for Rosario doing the same thing. I don't know. I felt that Hurd probably... I thought that Rosario... They both boxed quite intelligently, but Rosario was using up more of his energy, using up more of his tools, whereas Hurd at the end of the 10 rounds, you got the impression, he could have gone an extra mile, an extra gear, and that might have won him the fight, whereas Rosario had gone through his repertoire. But a draw it was, a split decision draw. Did you see this fight? What did you think of it? I thought it was quite absorbing, because I'm always curious to see if two guys are past their best, how good they are, what they got left and so on. And these guys in their day were good to watch. I think that, again, I think Hurd won, but maybe you disagree. Leave your comments below. Tell me who you think won. Do you think either's got any kind of future? Rosario's only 29. I was amazed when I looked that up beforehand. I thought he was in his mid-30s. But Hurd is 33 now. Not ancient, but not young. So what do you think is in the future for these guys? Should they have a rematch? Is that the best option? I think it probably is. Get them back for a rematch. But we'll see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. As always, please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and support Joe Steiner Boxing by doing that. It takes a second, costs you nothing. And also, if you can hit the like button as well, because they count the likes, apparently. All right, thank you very much. Looking forward to reading your comments, and bye for now.